we are going to be talking about women in family business in the context of Indian family businesses and sort of like where they are, what their status is, like what the challenges are that they're facing specifically, and where you think those challenges come from and how they can be overcome. You come from a family business as well, though you've now dedicated your life to an academic career in the family business field, of course, but you come from a family business background. So I always say to people like you know the pain, you understand the
Yes,
pain. So you
yes,
understand where
absolutely.
some people have very positive experiences with their family businesses, never encounter any major problems. Others go through borderline traumatic experiences with their family enterprises. We know the spectrum is very, very wide.
Absolutely.
For you, when was the first time that you were like, hold on a second, like something doesn't seem quite balanced here in the way that we're handling this? Do you remember that moment?
I wouldn't say it was one moment, but I would say quite early on, probably, when I was in my teens, I started to realize that women in my household really were doing two jobs because they had the full-time responsibility of the household, but they did help quite a bit in the businesses as well. So while they were playing just a supporting role, but it was quite significant, and they didn't really have any ownership or that didn't really count in their portfolio while they were supporting in the business, but it was considered as invisible support, or no, nobody really counted that as something that they were doing. So it started to feel like they were really doing a lot. And on the contrary, the men would not come and provide even a little bit support at home. So I think from my teenage years, I started to feel that the experiences of women differ widely based on their socio cultural, economic,
Exactly.
institutional, geographical context.
Can you maybe talk to us a little bit more about describing, what particularly are those invisible roles that you see the women in your society take in that you think are crucial to the success of the family enterprise, but that go very often go unrecognized? Can you give us an example maybe?
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, women of the household are typically uh, they are around the area where men eat or men sit down, and they're just generally chatting. So women are around and they know what is going on in the business quite a bit. So many a times they fill in when the men folks are traveling or someone is sick, or someone just needs support if there's too much work. So women do these kind of things quite a bit. In fact, in our family, we have 3 to 4 businesses, different businesses handled by different uncles. So any woman we live in a joint family. So any woman can actually go and fill in for any other man. They know that much of the business that they can let the day-to-day operations go on without much disturbance if someone is not available.
What do you feel are the biggest changes that have promoted, say, a more open conversation about the role of women in family enterprises and family wealth? And what has been positive in your view, and what has been sort of like, where do we still lag behind, or what has even been negative in your point of view around this conversation, the evolution of this conversation?
The first thing definitely is the decreasing family sizes in India. Now, most of the households have 2 or maybe 1 child. And if that child happens to be a daughter, you don't have a choice. You have to think of passing on at least the ownership of business to the daughter. If I look at the education side, even there, because probably because of the decreasing family sizes again, daughters are studying as well as the sons are. The third thing is the awareness itself. Both in the previous generation and in our generation, there's a lot of awareness, probably because of media, open communications, digital world. So we know what is happening around the world. We have much more role models. We aspire to do more, and hence we speak out more about our own aspirations. Plus, there are certain government, I would say, regulations or steps which have worked in the right direction. So, entry into business became easier for many women. Something where we really lag behind is the overall mindset in the society. And I'm not just talking about the men, it's also the women themselves. And that is really related to the very, very skewed workload which women carry because uh, we have not evolved as a society to ensure that men and women carry household responsibilities equally.
Do you feel like there is some progression there in terms of like relationships between men and women, like, how women get to, communicate to their husbands as well, what it is that they want, what it is that they expect in a relationship? Like, where do you see a big difference between the last generation and this one?
Yes, yes. So again, it mostly stems from the fact that our generation is much more assertive and more vocal about our wants and our aspirations. In our minds, we treat ourselves as equal to the men. There will always be outliers. So there are men I know who probably contribute more to the household than women do. And there are men and women I know who support their next generation completely, irrespective of gender.
Here I want to talk to you about what I know is a big topic in your society, which is also, a lot of the time women get married and join their in-laws in the house and the family of the in-laws and have to leave their own families and the support of their own family as well behind. So talk to us a little bit about the kind of challenges women maybe face in that particular moment, and what it is like for them to maybe establish their roles within a household as an in-law, and whether you've seen women who have successfully done that and even been able to contribute to the business, as an in-law. Like, what have you seen sort of in that conversation? Because I know that's a big can be a big issue.
There is a lot of difference between a daughter and a daughter-in-law. A daughter, as she's growing up, she is probably at par with her brother or with the other sons in the household, and she doesn't face too much discrimination, especially in a family. But a daughter-in-law is treated very differently from a daughter. So a daughter-in-law is expected to take care of the household completely, whether she is working full time or not. It's very difficult to find a way around these things, and these things are not expected out of men, fortunately for them, or it's not like I don't want to force it on them, but uh, somehow these are more women centric rituals and women centric traditions and cultures.
Now let's come to the children. Let's come to that next generation, which then are raised by a mother who potentially has every reason in the world to resent the family business because she's being made to carry so much of the burden, very often without much recognition. So how do you see that play out also in like the next generation's relationship with the family business? Because the mother has a great influence, of course, on the children in the early years particularly. So what do you think about, like, what have you seen there?
There are three aspects to it. The first aspect is that the daughters-in-law really don't complain too much openly. That's what I observe. So if we really want to work, we'll just take it in our stride and do whatever needs to be done. The second aspect is create very strong ecosystems because we know that help is perhaps not going to come from other quarters. We try and make our ecosystem so strong on our own. So we tap into various helps to make sure that things run more smoothly at home. Remember, the responsibility still lies with us. We're not getting rid of the responsibility. We're just getting rid of the fact that we don't have to be physically present to do it. And the third aspect is really we don't let or allow these things to rub onto our children as well as much as possible, because we know that times are changing. It is much better for me than it was for my mother. And I know that it's going to be much better for them than it is for me.
So, for those men that wish to take a more active role in championing the causes of women in India in the family enterprise and specifically like for those men sitting on the boards or like, for those next gens, what do you think is the best advice that you can give these men that want to champion women's causes?
I believe that these men must start demanding equality, even if it inconveniences them or even if it doesn't work in their favor. If men say that, no, we demand equality, why are you discriminating? Then there would be a faster pace of change than what it is today.
On the other hand, for the women facing these situations and facing dissatisfaction with those situations, what is your biggest advice on communication for them around these issues in terms of tricks and tips that you have for women and how to circumvent these prejudices but still make their point? Like, what would be your advice?
You need to say no once. Sometimes we need to be more poised and firm in what we are communicating, then the message goes across better. If that doesn't work, then maybe another time repeat it again more firmly. But we have to start saying no once in a while in a nicer way without the drama. That's what I would really say. I've seen it work once in a while.